Alright, what's good YouTube? Gentlemen, Thomas here back with a new video on the channel, and yes, we're going to be running a brand new draft league. It is known as the Crown Tundra, and it is actually commissioned by one of my friends that invited me, known as the King Komala, coach of the Vegas Golden Komalas we played in RCL. He's also just known as Ty amongst a lot of the a lot of the people on Discord and the people we talked to and whatnot. And I was invited by him after our interactions in RCL. We became somewhat like decently friends there, so I was like, sure, I'm down. Especially because RCL ended up ending completely, and WPF is even about to wind down for me personally because, spoiler alert, we will not make playoffs. We unfortunately have not been doing that great. But yeah, he invited me, and I saw it as an opportunity to try and meet some new people, to try and join a new draft league. Also, I feel like this is going to be a little bit more like, I don't know, kind of, I won't say relaxed, but because there's a lot of new people I don't know, I'm not going to be as like, okay, I know I can beat this person, or rather, I know this person is good. I'm more just going to be neutral about it. A lot of people, there's also a couple of people we will be replaying. Ty, of course, himself. There's Mesmeralda we played in RCL as well. So there's a couple of people we played before. But yeah, I'm very excited to be in this league. As I said, a lot of people we know, but also a lot of new people. The new people I've met actually seem very, very nice, very down-to-earth people. They seem to be really making a lot of jokes with each other, which that's my kind of community where everybody can kind of joke with each other, and everybody's kind of like, nobody seems to really cross the line, at least so far. But yeah, brand new league. As you can see here, we were second pick overall. It's a total of 115 points for 9 to 11 months. It's a snake-style draft format, which means we go from first pick to last pick, and then for last pick to first pick. Now, what's very special about this league compared to a couple of other leagues we've been in is cut moves are allowed. So that means pursuit is allowed, return is allowed, HP moves allowed, so HP fire, HP ice, stuff like that. And that actually changes quite a lot of Mon's value, in my opinion, or probably in a lot of people's opinion. Stuff like Landris isn't as good anymore, same with Gliscor, because now HP Ice is actually going to be a thing. Scissor is also a little bit worse because HP Fire is a thing. Something like Rosal Raid, for instance, actually gets a massive buff because you have the Technician HP move, which means you have a base 90 move of any typing except Fairy, because HP Fairy cannot be a thing. Now, regarding cut moves cannot be used on a Gen 8 Mon because Gen 8 Mons don't have access to any cut moves at all in any scenario. And that does hurt with one of our Mons a little bit, because we have a Mon that would really benefit being able to use a specific cut move. But I'll get into that when I reach that Mon. Now, going into this draft, I had zero plan whatsoever. Honestly, like, I'll be 100% honest, I had zero plan whatsoever. I thought about a couple of months. I think there was like one mon I 100% knew I wanted, and then there was like 2 months I was like, yeah, I kind of would like them, but if I don't get them, I can live without them. But my first pick, I had zero idea. Like, the months I wanted was something I could wait for. I knew I could wait for it. So as the second pick, I actually ended up holding the draft for like an hour or something while trying to decide what the hell I wanted, because the only mon I had just a smidge of interest in got taken as the first pick, and that is, of course, Dragapult. Dragapult almost always get taken at first pick, so I kind of knew it was going to happen, but at the same time, I held my hopes out, hoping, yeah, Dragapult might fall to second. Now, the reason why I wanted Dragapult was actually not because it's a good mon, it's because it was a bad mon. I know that sounds weird, right? So I used Dragapult at some point in a draft league, and it was terrible. I did not like using it. I don't know what it was. I could not get kills with it. I could not do anything with it. So I really ended up not liking Dragapult as a draft league mon, even though Dragapult itself is probably one of my favorite Gen 8 mons. I love the design. I love the whole shooting Dreebies. For a lot of people that don't know, Dreebie is probably top 3 favorite Gen 8 mons, if not my favorite Gen 8 mon, just in general. I love that little bugger so much. But yeah, I used Dragapult, I didn't like it, so I kind of wanted to do a redemption with it. I recently, not too long ago, used a Tangrowth, and that was also kind of a redemption, and I ended up loving Tangrowth. It was so fun to use. It and Slowbro formed such a nice defensive core, I loved it so much. So I was like, you know what, let's try it with Dragapult. Dragapult got taken, so I was like, oh, now what? I thought about doing Tornado Therian, because Tornado Therian is kind of the same with Dragapult, where I know it's a good mon, but I had it one season in a league and I was kind of a little bit disappointed. Not as much as Dragapult, but still enough to kind of not wanting to use it again, which then made me want to use it a little bit, because I was like, maybe it might be the same scenario. But I ended up going with a different mon that I had a somewhat similar experience with, but not nearly on the same level as the other two, and that is Tapu Koko. So Tapu Koko was an 18-point mon, which means it was the absolute highest tier. 18 was the highest, and 1 was of course the lowest. Tapu Koko is going to be known as Isma. Yes, we're going to be going with a little bit of theme here. So Tapu Koko is one of those mons that I've used before, but I kind of... Tapu Koko, I wasn't impressed by it, but I wasn't like disappointed either. It was kind of just, there. It got kills. It got enough kills that it was good, and it was like a good pivot. It was also a good support mon if I needed it to. But I never felt like Tapu Koko did a whole lot. Like, I had other mons that just feel like did more that season. So that's why I want to try and reuse it. I have a little bit better synergy with Tapu Koko this time around compared to back then. Which, that's not a league I uploaded, so, well, that was before I even started uploading. So no, I don't have any like footage of it. But yeah, I'm very interested in using Tapu Koko. Really good mon, gets access to defog if we need to. Really good pivot mon with both U-turn and ball switch. Can be Calm Mind, gets Roost for longevity. Really good with like Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch, Choice Specs, Choice Bandit. I've seen Choice Scarf even now that the new like speed meta is kind of here with like Dragapult and all those mons that are massively fast. Yeah, so I'm very excited with using Tapu Koko. Now, to kind of go together with Tapu Koko, I wanted a mon that can like take some hits, but also where Tapu Koko itself can maybe take hits for that mon, and that mon is Mega Venusaur, also known as Naveen or Prince Naveen if you want to be technical. Mega Venusaur, it's a grass type that unfortunately does not resist ground, and yes, I do understand that is like, that's not good, because that means we don't have a ground switch in truly yet. However, Tapu Koko resists flying for Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur is still fat enough that you could take most hits that aren't super affected if you really need to. You get access to a bunch of annoying moves like Toxic, Leech Sheet, Synthesis, Giga Drain. Like, you can send there heal. You could be you could be like a sub Leech Seed, which can be very annoying. It's also a lot faster than I think a lot of people really realize. It's base 80 speed, which isn't like terrible for such a bulky mon. Unfortunately, you don't have access to Toxic Spikes, which is typically something I do like with my with my Poison type Pokemon, but I can kind of live with it this time around. It's not as necessary on this team, I think. Now, to kind of further support the whole Mega Venusaur being a fat mon, you need something that can really truly take a hit from, like, especially Flying Taps. Flying Taps are super annoying to deal with in draft. We already have Tapu Koko, who can maybe take a hit, but more on the offensive side can kind of pressure Flying Taps. So we also need a mon that can take a hit on the defensive side, and that is going to be Heatran. Heatran is a 15-point mon that's and it's going to be known as Bonsai. Yes, Bonsai is a name from the Lion King. It's one of the hyenas. It's the like the one you don't remember, kinda. It's not the leader and it's not the funny guy. It's the third one, if that makes sense. But yeah, Heatran, really good for flying types. Flame Body to potentially burn them if they're physical. It's also got access to Stealth Rocks. You can use a really annoying set with like Magma Storm, substitute Toxic Protect if you really want to be annoying. You can also, I believe it gets access to Taunt. It can be really good Choice Specs mon. It can be really good Choice Scarf mon. You can do a couple of things with Heatran, but also it just kind of supports Mega Venusaur kind of nice, kind of well. It is another ground weakness, which is not good. With Venusaur not resisting ground, that actually really hurts our team a lot. So we kind of do need to try and amend that a little bit down the line, but we do have a couple of things we can do. Yeah, I'm very excited about using Heatran. It's one of those mons that I always kind of thought wasn't that great, but hey, maybe it might convince me to actually be that good of a mon. Now, with drafting both a grass and a fire type back to back, I was like, you know what? Let's finish up that fire, water, grass core. We need one typing. We need a mon. We need a mon that can actually take a hit to fully support and kind of just make sure the Mega Venusaur is the fattest thing on this earth. We wanted something that can resist a Psychic type attack. besides Heat Train. So we now have 2 flying resist, and now we have 2 psychic resist with Slowking. Slowking is going to be an 11-point mon. It's going to be known as Cusco. Yes, that is Cusco from Emperor's New Groove. It's a really nice fat mon on the special side. Heatran and Venusaur can both be physical and special. Slowking is for the most part special, especially defensive and offensive as well. It gets access to Teleport, one of my new favorite moves in this Gen 8 meta. I really love having the slow pivot. It has access to probably like top 2 abilities in Draft League. In Regenerator, it's such a good ability. Swap in, swap out, boom, you all of a sudden have 33% of your health back. It also has a very wide move pool. Like, for some reason, it's a water type that gets access to Flamethrower for no reason at all. You get access to like Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball. You still have Toxic, you have Thunder Wave, your Trick Room. Like, you can do so much with Slowking, and I also think it rounds out our Fire, Water, Grass core very, very nice. Now we have like a good defensive synergy in our core here, so we need a little bit of offense. We need a mon that can like break. Tapu Koko is a good mon, but it's not actually a mon that breaks that much. It's more of a cleanup sweeper towards the end. It can break in some scenarios, but we need something that will, if it comes, it is gonna hurt the opponent, and that mon is gonna be Obstagoon. Obstagoon is going to be known as Ed. Yes, that is the second of the hyena from the Lion King movie. This is the dumb one, because the dumb one always has the tongue out, and Obstagoon has the tongue out. I feel like it fits so well. It's a 12-point mon, so it's a little bit pricey. And this was the mon I talked about when I said we have a specific mon that is hurt by not having access to cut moves. Because if I had Pursuit on a Dark type, that is so nice. That means any Ghost or Psychic types that want to stay in, if I get in with my Dark type, you are taking a chunk of damage. Especially from an Obstagoon, because Obstagoon has a really good ability in Guts. It's a status absorber. Guts makes it so if we are status, our attack actually goes up. I believe it's like a choice band, so you get +1 automatically. But you actually get the flexibility to actually choose your moves. You can choose between whatever moves you get. You can run Facade, because Facade, if you are either burned or poisoned or paralyzed or anything, it gets double damage, so it becomes a 140 move. Plus it's Stab, because Obstagoon is both normal and dark. Other than that, you get access to, of course, Knock Off. You have a bunch of other dark moves you can use. You get access to Parting Shot if you want to have some pivot. And then it gets access to the very specific move, Obstruct. So Obstruct works kind of like King Shield from Aegislash, where it's a protect, but if your opponent attacks you, they get a -2 defense. Aegislash is minus attack, this is minus defense, which that actually might end up being very nice for Obstagoon, because that means if something attacks me physically, I obstruct, they get -2 defense, and then I hit them with an attack. I will actually hit them as if I have gone +2. Which is amazing for Obstagoon. But yeah, in general, Obstagoon is here. It's going to break a bunch of teams. I can already feel it. Now, as I said, we have a little bit of a ground weakness. We need something to kind of fix it. And what better to fix that than a flying type? Now, as you can see here, this is not only a flying type, this is also a dragon type for the team. We are going to be picking up Salamence. It's a 14-point mon, and it's going to be known as Mushu. Yes, that is from Mulan. I don't know why, it was the only dragon from Disney I could really find, okay? All the others, like these weird, like Elliot and whatnot, and I don't think that fits at all. So I went with Mushu. I know it doesn't look like Mushu at all, but hey, it is what it is. Salamence is a very interesting mon. I've been wanting to try it for a little bit because it got access to Hurricane in Gen 8, so it actually makes it a really good special attacker as well as a physical attacker. It can be a really good D-Dance mon. It's base 100 speed, so it's a little bit faster than Zygarde that we used in RCL, but it's not as bulky. An Ice Shard or any ice move in general is gonna hurt Salamence quite a lot. And as we said, HP moves are allowed, so HPIs actually will probably come our way a couple of times throughout the season. Either just have to try and predict those, or I just have to hope that Salamence can take it. Maybe I'll run Yachiberry, but who knows. But yeah, this is also like a really good ground switching. Yes, most ground type does get access to a rock type move, but Salamence having access to Intimidate can then lower the attack, so that means any rock type moves will do less. That can very much be in our favor. You also have access to Moxie if you want to be a Moxie sweeper. Moxie basically makes it so we get a +1 attack every time we kill something. that can make it so if you get to +1 with Salamence speed, and then we start killing, all of a sudden it's a landslide and the opponent can't get out of it. I'm very excited to use Salamence. It can also be a pretty good support one. It is actually a pretty good wish passer. I don't think a lot of people knows that, but it can get wish, and it has base, I think it's 100 HP. It's a pretty high HP stat, so you can actually wish pass into a lot of our monsters. But mostly Heatran on this team, because we already have quite a lot of monsters that actually can get recovery by themselves. Other than that, Salamence is also a second defog user, which is okay, but it's not great because both our defog users typically don't want to run it. So we definitely do have to look out for that in the future. Speaking of, our next mon on the team is going to be Donphan. Donphan is a 10-point mon. It's going to be known as Tantor from Tarzan. And yes, this is our first truly good removal on the team in Rapid Spin Donphan. It is our second Stealth Rocker. I will say we have two really solid Stealth Rockers right now, which they can come most of the time. There's not really many matchups where you won't see either of them. Maybe if my opponent has like 2 water types that are very threatening, then they might not come. But even then, Heatran can be pretty good if they're physical because we can potentially burn them, and Donphan is just a really good, solid mon in general. Other than that, Donphan gets access to like Ice Shard, Knockoff. It can be pretty good utility mon. As mentioned, it gets access to Rapid Spin. Of course, Earthquake because it is a good ground type. It has a really high attack stat, so you can actually run an offensive Donphan pretty well as well. And then, of course, Rocks, just because, Rocks are always nice to have. Now, next on the team, we kind of need a mon to take advantage of that terrain a little bit. I thought about going with the standard, Hawlucha, Cogolucha, but for some reason I just don't like Hawlucha that much. Plus, I also didn't want the second flying typing, and I was kind of dead set on getting Salamence at one point. So I was like, sure, let's get the Salamence, and then give up on the Lucha. So we ended up going with a different Unburden mon, and that is Hitmonlee. Hitmonlee is a 9-point mon. It's going to be known as Kronk. Yes, that is from Emperor's New Groove as well. So now we have Isma, Cusco, and Kronk from the Emperor's New Groove. As I said, it's an Unburden mon, which means if it uses an item, it gets double the speed. So should we pop in an electric seed on Hitmonlee, it will automatically get +2 speed. It doesn't have access to sword stance, unfortunately. If it did, it would probably be even better than Hawlucha, just because it hits harder. It has a base 120 attack stat, unlike Hawlucha's base, is it 90 something, I think it is, or something like that. I can't remember, I just know Hawlucha's is way less. But you do have access to Bulk Up, which can be a +1, so it's kind of nice. Access to a lot of good moves like Knockoff, Earthquake, of course, Close Combat. It got Close Combat this generation, so you're not reliant on High Jump Kick, even though High Jump Kick can still be pretty good. Overall, I think Hitmonlee is actually going to be a really good mon for our team. It's our second Rapid Spin users. Now we actually all of a sudden have a decent amount of removal, because Rapid Spin Hitmonlee isn't a bad set either. +1 speed makes it so you can outspeed a lot of mons if the opponent doesn't have a Choice Scarf user. Yeah, not much to say about Hitmonlee. It's probably going to come more often than I personally think, just because the whole Unburden set is going to be so nice to have. It's going to be a good way to kind of get around a lot of speedy mons the opponent can have. It's going to be a good way to break through the opponent if you want to run like Choice Bandit, because Hitmonlee hits like a truck. Now, the next mon on the team was a weird pick, definitely, because it came from left field, even from my own viewpoint. I had a kind of very big speed gap between Tapu Koko and Salamence, and I wanted something to patch that. Hitmonlee with Unburden doesn't patch that because it becomes even faster than Tapu Koko. So I needed something like in between that can make it so any mons slower than Koko can run Adamant or Modest. And I think, if I did my math correctly, I think I did hit that speed tier perfectly. Because I actually went and looked. Can I base 125 mon, which those were the mons I was like mostly worried about. Can I base 125 mon run Modest against this mon and outspeed? And I think it was a no. I think they would hit like 1 point just under. So that's why I ended up drafting this, and that mon is Lycanrod Dusk. As I said, it fits the speed tier, base 110 speed, so now we have like 100, 110, 130. I would have liked maybe one more mon between 110 and 130. That would have been that would have been chef kiss beautiful, but this is still pretty manageable. It's still pretty good. Other than that, Lycanroc Dusk also a really good mon. Like, get access to sword stance, tough claws to make its close combat, play rough, crunch, hit even harder. Get stealth rock if we really need to. Like a suicide lead, Lycanroc Dusk is not a bad. It's not a bad lead at all. Has Endeavor. I know Endeavor is actually a move you can use on, which can be really nice to have. If you're low HP, you can get your opponent down to low HP. It's a really good priority mon. So now we have both Donphan and Lycanroc with really good priority in Ice Shot and Accelerock. Other than that, I've used Lycanroc Dusk once before. I really liked it a lot. Back then, I was very reliant on it and Mega Gallade. Those were the two mons I had. Those were the only breakers I had on that team, truly. So now having a little bit more breaking potential on this team with both Lycanroc, Hitmonlee, Salamence, Obstagoon, Coco, heck, even Venus or Heatran, Slowking hits pretty hard, even Donphan hits hard. I actually think our entire team hits. I just mentioned our entire team there, because what I actually think the weakest hitting mon, if we don't take abilities into account, is actually Tapu Koko. That's that's so weird. But yeah. So team actually does hit pretty hard. Lycanroc Dusk is going to be known as Shensi, so this is our third hyena trio. You know, Shensi is like the leader. She's like a badass girl, you know. I'm with it. I feel like that fits Lycanroc very well. But yeah, I'm very excited to use Lycanroc again. Now, if you can do math with my entire team, I had 1 point left at this point. And there's not a lot of mons in the 1 point tier that does a whole lot. Now, in the PRs that were made for this league, it was mentioned that Cottonee got picked up for no reason at all. And I'm just gonna say there was a very specific reason. I even mentioned them on, didn't I? Well, let's just go to it. Cottonee. There's a very specific reason I picked this mana, but I will not tell. I will not tell. I will hope I can show it off at some point. Cottonee, it's a 1 point mon. It's a prankster mon, which is one of the reasons, but not the reason I wanted it. There's one coach in the league that 100% knows why I wanted this, and I hope he can keep his goddamn mouth shut. But yeah, it's a 1 point mon. It gets access to, of course, Defog, Prankster. It gets access to, like, Stunspore. It's, like, not a good mon. Like, I won't ever bring it expecting it to do anything really other than the one thing I wanted to do, which is being an annoying little prankster. But yeah, it's gonna be known as Cricky, and that's the name of the cricket from Mulan. So I don't know. I feel like the fit, like it's a little creature that's annoying half the movie. Like not to us, but to Mushu. I feel like the fit a lot. But yeah, for 1 point, I feel like Cottonee is actually pretty decent. Cottonee is also one of those mons that have been used in VGC before. So if that doesn't speak to what it can actually do, I don't know what would. But yeah, that's my team for this season. I'm very excited to use it. As I mentioned, it's a weird team to me because it synergizes, but at the same time, it really just looks like a bunch of mons that are there, and that's it. Like, they don't... I don't know what it is about the team. There's something that feels off and something that feels right with it at the same time, and I cannot put my finger on what it is. But yeah, that's my team. As always, if you like the video, make sure to leave a like on the video. Leave a comment down below. What do you think of my team? Do you think it should change anything on it? And if so, what? I will be down to listen. Of course, if the mons are not available, I cannot do it. But hey, if you have any idea, I'm very much down to listen to what you want to say. And subscribe to the channel for future videos. And with that, I'm out. Peace, YouTube.